3rd May, 1969. But with this consciousness, there is the why of everything, everyone's reaction, why he acts in that way, and since it's been there, not once have I seen in this consciousness a reproach. Not once did it reproach anyone. It has explained everything in such a way that it becomes so luminous, so understanding, as to make you wonder, why should one reproach anyone? Oh, for it, moral notions or something ultra stupid. But I told it, I'm still telling it, that they were necessary in the course of evolution to refine matter and open the way to certain forces. If people had been from the beginning wholly satisfied with themselves, they would never have progressed. But now, it's time to see. Time to see. The vast majority of humanity is unconscious. What I call unconscious, that is, without contact with the consciousness, not consciously in contact with consciousness. The vast majority. But for one who is capable of being above circumstances, with a clear and precise vision of the why and the how, it's wonderful. There. It's what Sri Aurobindo wrote in Savitri. God grows up on earth. God grows. But man, Mother laughs, the wise man talks and sleeps, and no one will notice it till the work is over. That's how it is. And he knew it. 23rd July, 1969. I used to have the habit of reading Savitri or one of your books before going to bed at night. But now I have lost the habit, and I do not even go to the Samadhi very regularly. I do not understand the true value of these things. Should one do them regularly, or only when one feels like doing them? Why should one do these things? And how should one do them? One reads Savitri to develop one's intelligence and to understand deeper things. One concentrates at the Samadhi to grow in devotion and to put oneself in contact with Sri Aurobindo in order to receive his help. If these things have any value for you, you must do them regularly, because it is the laziness of unconsciousness that keeps you from doing them. You are born for a spiritual and conscious life, but perhaps you are still too young to have the will to realize it. Blessings. 26th July, 1969. But now I've come to notice that they cut these quotations. They leave out 2 lines in the middle. Suddenly I'll say to myself, but it doesn't hang together. I'll ask, and F tells me, yes, they left out 1 line, 2 lines. So what's to be done? It's absurd. Here, all this is ready. I don't need to see it again. It's for you to see. It's my translation. See if my translation is good. Laughing. No, because some things might be put in a better way. Yes, but I'm wary. You know, I have learned that what's thought to be better, according to literary knowledge, isn't necessarily better from the standpoint of the true force. I quite agree with that. Listen, basically, what you should do is to see. You can see it right away. If you find something you think isn't too good, I've done it like that. I can't say that I'm attached to my translation, not at all. But if you could suggest something to me. As you said, the French might be a bit awkward. But it may be the only way to translate precisely. Sometimes I did it purposely. Admitted through a curtain of bright mind that hangs between our thought and absolute sight, he found the occult cave, the mystic door, near to the well of vision in the soul, and entered where the wings of glory brood, in the sunlit space where all is forever known. Brood? It's the image of a hen brooding on its eggs. The wings of glory brood on things so they may be realized. There, in a hidden chamber, closed and mute, are kept the recordographs of the cosmic scribe, and there the tables of the sacred law, the symbol powers of number and of form, and the secret code of the history of the world, and nature's correspondence with the soul are written in the mystic heart of life. In the glow of the spirit's room of memories, he could recover the luminous marginal notes, dotting with light the crabbed, ambiguous scroll. The mother laughs. The crabbed, ambiguous scroll. Is that all? He saw the unshaped thought in soulless forms, new matter pregnant with spiritual sense, mind dare the study of the unknowable, life its gestation of the golden child. A will, a hope immense now seized his heart, and to discern the superhuman's form, he raised his eyes to unseen spiritual heights, aspiring to bring down a greater world. Yesterday, I read another part of Savitri, which tells how the king is transformed. The World Soul, Book 2, Canto 14. Those are all the experiences my body is now going through. I knew nothing about it. I don't remember that at all. And I seem to be reading all the experiences my body is now going through. It's interesting. There's everything in this Savitri. And to be able to describe those experiences like that, he must have had them. The mystery is always why he left. Yes, he clearly said, I asked him, he clearly said, I'll come back only in a supramental body. 30th July, 1969. Savitri goes into death in search of Satyavan. So the mother is going to bring back Sri Aurobindo. But you know that Sri Aurobindo said he wanted to come back on the earth only in a superhuman body, a supermental body. A host of problems have instantly arisen. A host of problems have instantly arisen. You see, there's a considerable difference between human life and animal life. And there will be a considerable difference between superhuman life and human life, supermental life and human life. But then, in what sense? Take holy, practical things. Will they have houses? How will they live? 2nd August, 1969. I am reading Savitri, the second book, I think. The Transformation of the King, His Experience. Book 2, Canto 14, The World Soul. I had read it very long ago. I didn't remember at all, not at all. These days, I have been reading it again. And it's like a detailed description of the experience my body is now having. Extraordinary. When I read it again, when I read it again, I was flabbergasted. It's absolutely as if my body were trying to copy that. And I didn't remember at all, not in the least, which would mean that Sri Aurobindo had seen the thing. Did he see it, or did he experience it? I don't know. And that's what he regards as the supermentalization of the psyche, of the physical being. And that's what he regards as the supermentalization of the physical being. Do you remember that in Savitri? 28th September, 1969. When the mortal eyes plunge their look into the other eyes which contemplate eternity. Then one finds one's native country. That is to say, the divine origin. That is true. You become a poet in your expression. 6th June, 1970. The mother takes up the reading of Savitri, the end of the debate of love and death. Is it a speech by this gentleman? Yes, laughing, yes, it's the end. The end of his speech, one of us should write. If it's more convenient for me to write, I'll write. It's always better to have your handwriting. But if it tires you, it's quite easy for me to note it down. Tires? Oh no. It's just that the mother's handwriting, is no longer good. It's no longer as it should be. But it doesn't tire me. So we'll put... The mother writes her French translation of the following verses. If thou art spirit, and nature is thy robe, cast off thy garb, and be thy naked self, immutable in its undying truth, alone forever in the mute alone. Turn then to God, for him leave all behind, forgetting love, forgetting Satyavan. Annul thyself in his immobile peace. O soul, drown in his still beatitude, for thou must die to thyself. That's for sure. Thou must die to thyself to reach divine supremacy, to reach the divine heights. No, we must put God in death's mouth. For thou must die to thyself to reach God's height. I, death, am happiness. I, death, am the gate of immortality. He's clever. Every time you read it again, it's new. But that's a very interesting phenomenon. Every time I read Savitri, I feel as if I am reading it for the first time, really. It's not that I understand differently, it's that it's completely new. I never read it before. It's odd. It's at least the fourth time I read it. And truly, there's everything in it. All the things I've discovered lately were there. And I hadn't seen it. It's odd. The first time I read it was a revelation. It hung together perfectly well from beginning to end, and I felt I had understood. I did understand something. The second time I read it, I said to myself, but this isn't the same thing as what I read. It hung together, it made up a whole, and I understood something else. Then, recently when I read, at every passage, I said to myself, how new this is, and how the things I have found since are there. Today again, that's how it is, as if I read it for the first time. And it puts me into contact with the things I have just discovered. It's a miraculous book, the mother laughs. We'll continue in the same way. 20th June, 1970. But Savitri answered to the sophist god, once more wilt thou call light to blind truth's eyes, make knowledge a catch of the snare of ignorance, and the word a dart to slay my living soul? One can't slay the soul. Offer, O king, thy boons to tired spirits. The mother smiles. And hearts that could not bear the wounds of time. Let those who were tied to body and to mind tear off those bonds and flee into white calm, crying for a refuge from the play of God. Surely thy boons are great, since thou art he. 1st July 1970. Do we have time for some Savitri? Yes, Mother. In the last verses, Savitri said, let those who are tied to body and to mind tear off those bonds and flee into white calm. Is it Savitri who says that? Yes. Death told her one must leave one's body in order to find God's height. The mother translates the sequel. But how shall I seek rest in endless peace, who house the mighty mother's violent force, her vision turned to read the enigmaed world, her will tempered in the blaze of wisdom's sun, and the flaming silence of her heart of love. The world is a spiritual paradox, invented by a need in the unseen, a poor translation to the creature's sense of that, which forever exceeds idea and speech, a symbol of what can never be symbolized, a language mispronounced, misspelt, yet true. Is there more? Yes, there is more. Those were the last lines of the debate of love and death the mother was to translate. 1st August, 1970, the message for August 15th. Even the body shall remember God. 5th August, 1970. The mother takes up the translation of a few extracts from Savitri. The great world mother, by her sacrifice, has made her soul the body of our state. That's interesting. I hadn't noticed. Has made her soul. The divine intention suddenly shall be seen. The end vindicate intuition's sure technique. It's interesting. 7th October, 1970. Or we may find, when all the rest has failed, hid in ourselves the key of perfect change. Where did he write this? In Savitri. Oh, interesting.